her baqaya. Here are the headlines tonight. A special treat for you ahead of the auspicious Akshay Tritiya as the yellow metal prices surge. Top industry insider tells you whether it's the right time to buy gold or not. 5G spectrum auction likely in early June, says Telecom Minister Ashwini Vaishnav. Government likely to earn as much as 7.5 lakh crore rupees. Government steps up on disinvestment. Crucial interministerial meet on the sale of Air India airport services on the 2nd of May. That's a Business Today TV exclusive. Markets seesaw as Sensex recoups all of yesterday's loss, jumps 702 points while the Nifty hits a double century. Reliance hits another lifetime high ahead of its results tomorrow. Two Indian Americans, both on the top of Twitter hierarchy, are in the firing line in the new Elon Musk regime. We bring you a special report. A rapid rise in gold prices has turned off buyers in India who are holding off on purchases. This is what the World Gold Council has to say on the big plunge in gold demand this March quarter. What does it mean for you? Will the yellow metal shine in the near future? Let's take a look.
The yellow metal is shining bright, maybe too bright for customers. High prices have unnerved buyers in India, keeping them away even during the peak wedding season during the winters. According to the latest World Gold Council figures, sales of gold slumped 18% in the January-March quarter from a year earlier. Even the demand for gold jewelry slumped 26%. There was, however, a silver lining, with people flocking to gold as an asset in times of uncertainty, and sales of gold bars and coins were up 5%. According to the World Gold Council, fewer auspicious days for weddings and the decision by many households to delay purchases in anticipation of a price correction added to the decline. Add to that inflation, which continues to squeeze disposable incomes. All factors adding up to reduce the flavor for the precious metal. Jewelers are now pinning their hopes on Akshay Tritiya for a sales boost. The festival, which is the same day as Eid ul-Fitr on the 3rd of May, has spurred some buying, but high prices are keeping customers away. Though gold prices have fallen to under 53,000 rupees per 10 grams from the recent high of 55,350 rupees about just 10 days ago, they're still nearly 5,000 rupees more than what they were a year ago. The big reasons for this: the ongoing war in Ukraine, surging inflation, and a burnished global economic outlook. However, analysts are seeing gold prices drop on an unexpected hike in interest rates across the world, led by the US. Demand is also likely to receive support from festival purchases and wedding season buying in the next quarter. Bureau Report, Business Today Television.
Mr. Somasundaram joining us now from the World Gold Council. Everyone is looking at the kind of price increase that we're seeing ahead of the season this time. Mr. Somasundaram, tell us really what are some of the metrics that you're observing right now and the kind of reaction we're seeing to these gold prices?
Yeah, as this saw, the prices actually shot up very, very sharply in this quarter. We, first of all, had a very, very good December quarter last year, December 2021. It was, in fact, one of the best quarters for India in our data series over 25 years. Okay. And that is because, we started coming out, lockdowns were relaxing, prices softened, and people started, associating gold with various functions, which all came back. Now, following from a very, very good December quarter, the trade was expecting that January quarter 2 would be a very good one. But that was not to be, because initially, January, we had the third wave. While it was not as bad as the second wave, it did mute many celebrations, many weddings, etc., became again muted affairs. And soon after that, we had a period of inauspicious dates. So there were not many weddings. And then March, you saw this conflict brewing, which impacted the price, and it started going up. Now, what happens when prices normally go up is consumers wait and watch because they like the prices to go up in the long term. But in the short run, when it goes up, they want to be very sure that it is a sustainable price increase. So anecdotally, we heard from many jewelers that people came, they looked at lots of jewelry, but then when the price was quoted at 53, 55,000, including GST, they said, okay, we will probably come back next month. So that seems to be the general narrative now, saying that, look, we will wait for the price to subside.
So what would you suggest to someone looking to invest in gold? What's the best way to go about it? Which are the instruments that you would look at?
Yes. See, gold, particularly when it comes to India, when you think of gold, you think of a jeweler. Okay, you really want to go to your family jeweler first, and then maybe somebody trusted, some branded jewelers, etc. But there are other ways of buying gold now. One is obviously if you're just wanting to make the price, want to have a play in the price, ETF is a good way. You have ETFs which are quite liquid in the market. So you could go and buy ETFs. There are some charges, obviously, but ETF is a good play. You can buy a sovereign gold bond. Again, sovereign gold bond, the point is there are only primary issues. The secondary trading is very limited. You still can get it, for people who are having small amounts of money, you can still go into the market and get it. It's normally available at a slight discount to the original price. So you can get that. You can buy digital gold in small things. There are 2 or 3 parties. I know it is not regulated, but they are still safe. They are kept in a separate vault, and this is done by a few reputed players. You could buy it in small quantities there. It's even available on platforms like Amazon. And then you come to the physical gold, which is always available. Now, when you buy the physical gold, of course, today hallmarking has been made mandatory, but you've got to take extra care when it comes to buying physical gold, because at these prices, even if there is a 1% variation in the purity, you're losing a lot of money.
And with gold at these prices, does it still make sense to get in? That's the other big question. Is it still a better option than, let's say, an SIP at this point, given the way prices are moving?
Yes, we don't offer investment advice. Let me make that very clear. But having said that, how do you buy gold and can you time the purchases? Clearly, if you're buying jewelry for a wedding, you don't time it. You got to buy, and minimum things. But if you're really looking at a long-term investor, and is this a good time to enter? We would always say that, look, you can't ever time the purchase. How can you say what the price is going to be? We don't know what is going to happen to inflation. We don't know what's going to happen to many currencies. You're seeing our neighborhoods, Sri Lanka and other stuff. If you're keeping a piece of gold, you know how much it is worth there now. Okay, but when it comes to India, we have a strong economy. It is growing, but we have a love of gold. So it is always good to keep a plan of buying rather than buying in one bulk. Because see, gold, thankfully, none of us wake up every day in the morning, other than for ETFs. We don't wake up in the morning and then what is the MTM of my jewelry? Which is a very, very good thing. That's how our families kept gold. They bought the gold and they forgot about it. They wore it, but they forgot about it. You don't wake up every day and say, oh, I bought it at this. What is the MTM of this portfolio of jewelry I have? That must be our view. Long term, just buy gold, buying small lots, depending on your, the pool of money that you have. Don't try to time it. It is always difficult. Having said that, currently, if you believe that there is going to be some softness after the war, then it is always preferable to wait.
All right, so that's an interesting take coming in there, Mr. Somasundaram. I know that's not advice, like you said, but a word of caution, let's say, coming in. Thanks so much for joining us on the show today. India has stepped closer to the much-awaited rollout of 5G mobile technology. Telecom Minister Ashwini Vaishnav has announced that the auction for 5G spectrum will be held early June. One of the big concerns for the industry is the pricing proposed by TRAI, which it feels is unjustifiably high. According to the minister, the Department of Telecom is working to resolve the industry concerns. TRAI has recommended sale of 1 lakh megahertz spectrum at more than 7.5 lakh crores for 30 years, and for 20 years the price has been reduced to a little more than 5 lakh crore rupees. Benchmark indices making a sharp rebound, climbing over 1% on the last day of the April F&O expiry. Stocks across the board rallying as risk appetite improved globally. Sensex advanced in line with peers across Asia, rising 700 points, closing above 57,500. Nifty reclaimed 17,200. However, the Nifty has declined in 5 out of the last 6 series. Nifty IT ended April with deep gashes, declining over 10%. On the other hand, Nifty Energy was the best performer of the series. Nifty Auto and mid-caps also logged gains in April. 45 of the 50 Nifty constituents ended the day in the green today. HUL, Asian Paints, HDFC Life, UPL, SBI Life, some of the top gainers, and laggards also on your screen coming up. But these were the ones that were some of the big gainers in trade. Investors made 2.5 lakh crore rupees in today's session. The central government all set for its third disinvestment this year. An interministerial group is likely to meet on the 2nd of May to discuss the sale of Air India's ground handling arm, Air India Airport Services Limited. The company is the only Air India subsidiary making a profit. The sale is expected to be completed by March 23. Let's go across to my colleague Karishma Sudani, who broke that story. Karishma, take us through all the details.
Well, the centre is now looking to disinvest subsidiaries of Air India. In fact, what we are learning is that an interministerial government meeting will be held likely on this coming Monday, where discussion on the preliminary information memorandum of the ground handling arm of Air India will be discussed, followed by which the government will, of course, look at a date in order to announce the expression of interest. Let's not forget that earlier also this process was held in around 2019, but the terms of the sale were not very much. Parties in government have to revisit the whole process, including the process of Air India. Early this year, government sold Air India to Tata's, along with, of course, 50% in Air India Express and one of its other subsidiaries. But now government has a bigger task to look into, and this is its engineering arm, its ground handling arm, and of course Alliance Air, followed by one of the key assets of Air India, that is its huge Nariman Point building in Mumbai, which government will now be looking to put on sale. In fact, we are picking up ENY will again be looking into this whole process, and government, though has not set a fixed schedule and agenda to this, they're looking to hive off these subsidiaries and assets, put them to sale at least by end of financial year 2023.
All right, thanks so much for joining us with that, Karishma. Indigo has become the first airline to land an aircraft using the indigenous Gagan-aided approach. An ATR-72 aircraft landed at Kishangarh Airport near Ajmer this morning. The flight for the first time used Gagan, an acronym for GPA-aided Geo-Augmented Navigation, a flight system jointly developed by the Indian Space Agency ISRO and Airports Authority. Gagan consists of a set of ground stations across India which gather GPS satellite data and process it for various applications like aviation, railways, forests, atmospheric studies, mobile services and tourism. The use of Gagan in flights is a big move towards Atmanirbhar Bharat as it replaces foreign-made systems. And here's what else is making news in the corporate world. The Competition Commission of India today launched raids against 2 top domestic sellers of online retail giant Amazon. The raids were conducted over accusations of having violated competition laws, according to reports. The 2 sellers were Cloudtail and Appareo, and Amazon has an indirect equity stake in both. Airtel partners with Apollo Hospitals and Cisco to create 5G connected ambulances. The company has conducted tests in Bengaluru over its 5G trial spectrum. The 5G connected ambulance can transmit real-time data about the patient's health to the hospital. Mahindra Electric has topped charts in the three-wheeler space after capturing a market share of 73.4%. With 214% growth, Mahindra Electric now has one of the largest portfolios of electric three-wheelers in the country. At a time when several companies are making headlines for their 10-minute delivery, India's largest private sector bank, HDFC Bank, is now looking forward to giving a car loan in just 30 minutes. Coined Express Car Loans, HDFC Bank will be offering a quick loan through a digital interface. Let's take a break, but before that, hear out what Ratan Tata had to say in a very rare appearance in Dibrugarh, where Prime Minister Narendra Modi was present for the inauguration of a cancer hospital built by the government of Assam and the Tata Trust.
Today is a very important day in the history of the state of Assam. It is a day that raises Assam to a higher level in terms of health care and treatment of cancer that has not been experienced by the other states in the country. I dedicate my last years to help make Assam a state that recognizes and is recognized by all.
Do you know of Amway products? And if you do, then how were you introduced to it? Was it a friend, a co-worker who introduced it to you? You certainly must have not found it on the shelves. Well, this is because their products are primarily distributed through a network of maybe 4 million members in over 100 countries. The beauty and wellness products company, Amway, is now under fire by the Enforcement Directorate for running a pyramid scheme. ED has also added that Amway's purpose is not to sell its exorbitantly priced products, but instead to induce the public to sign up as members of its get-rich schemes. And this led to ED attaching assets of Amway India Enterprises Private Limited worth over 757.7 crores following a money laundering probe under the Prevention of Money Laundering Act, the PMLA. Is Amway a pyramid scheme? Well, pyramid schemes might look like they are built around legitimate products, but the goal really is usually just to get as many people enrolled as possible. The scheme participants go to extreme lengths to recruit new members, taking persistence and pressure to uncomfortable levels. The point of the scheme is really never about selling the products. It's simply about enrolling increasing number of people, all of whom are required to buy products. They make money based on recruiting an ever-increasing number of investors. The initial promoters recruit investors who in turn recruit more investors, and so on goes the cycle. The scheme is called a pyramid scheme because at each level the number of investors only increases. Many people have alleged that Amway runs a similar program that only benefits a select few people at the top. And now with the ED action, it seems there's more credence to these allegations. Amway's response? Amway has said that the Enforcement Directorate's action is regarding an investigation that dates back to 2011, and since then the company has been cooperating with the agency. The company's spokesperson has also added that Amway has a rich history of maintaining the highest levels of probity, integrity, corporate governance, and consumer protection, which are much ahead of time in the interest of the consumers at large.
India Today interview sparks national fight.
A savage heart to the Lord of the Dark, the Phantom.
Kannada superstar takes a dig at Hindi.
Hindi is no more national language. So which is the national language today?
Interview lands like a missile in Bollywood. Furious, starry, north-south language fight breaks out. From actors to netas, everyone triggered. India Today sets the news agenda again.
Welcome back. You're with us here on Business Today. There are real fears on Wall Street that Elon Musk may back out of his acquisition of Twitter. Twitter shares fell more than 2% on Wednesday over speculation that the Tesla CEO could fail to complete the deal in 6 months. Tesla shares had already fallen a day ago over fears that Musk would have to sell a part of his stake in the company to fund the Twitter deal. The serial entrepreneur has said he would provide $21 billion in cash contribution. It's not as if Musk has not backtracked before. Earlier this month, he decided at the last minute not to take up a seat on Twitter's board. In 2018, Musk had announced he had secured funding to take Tesla private, but did not move ahead with an offer. Further, Musk would have to pay only $1 billion breakup fee, less than 0.5% of his $250 billion fortune. With recent incidents of electric scooters catching fire and the blame being largely put on faulty batteries, the spotlight is on battery manufacturers in the country. Business Today TV's associate editor Chetan Bhutani caught up with battery technology startup Log9 Materials, which has started India's first indigenously developed cell manufacturing facility in Bengaluru.
Today you officially launched an assembly line for India's first indigenously manufactured cell for the batteries. Tell us about it. What does it mean in India's Atmanirbhar Bharat scheme for going self-dependent on cell manufacturing in India?
So, as we entered into the era of EV revolution, right? The thing was that none of these batteries or cells were made for the Indian requirements and conditions. Whether it is our temperature, climate, whether it is the type of vehicle that we use, two-wheeler, three-wheeler, the very India unique kind of a solution. At the same time, the type of driving patterns that we have. And when we were looking at these kind of requirements, it was completely stark from what you see in the temperate part of the world, for example, US, Europe, China, Japan, Korea, all of these places. And what happens is that when you try to get these batteries or borrow these technologies or just import these products and try to force fit them in the Indian market, we see lots of challenges. These challenges can be performance related, life related, and in the most extreme of the cases, they can be related to fire and safety hazards. Developing technologies which are relevant for India, for our conditions and requirements, at the same time having made consciously thinking about what kind of material supplies that we have in the country, what kind of natural reserves that we have in the country. And that's what we have done at Log9, where we are making batteries which can sustain higher temperatures that we see in the country, that can enable vehicles to charge in 15 minutes time, offer longevity of life and reliability on the pack, and being completely safe at the same time. Whether once somebody has the safest of the battery out there in their vehicle, is it the complete solution? No. There's a caveat there. Only the battery being the safest will not serve the purpose. When we're talking about EVs, we have to engineer them ground up in India. And that's the biggest missing piece in this revolution today.
MG has just launched its new ZS EV 2022. It's supposed to have more range, power, and looks different as well. What's it really like on Indian roads? Does a bigger battery pack mean lesser range anxiety? What's the charging experience like? Our in-house tech geek, Ayush Shalawadi, has all the answers on Tech Today.
So yes, when you're talking about range, well, the company claims this car can actually give you 461 kilometers on a single charge. Now, if that was the case, it would be ideal. But in the real world, I think that translates into a lot lesser. It also depends on how you drive. Are you really, flooring the gas pedal? Are you driving in eco mode? How much AC are you using? A lot of those things.
Well, the minute you set foot in the car, strap your seatbelt on and press the brake and apparently switch it on. The thing is, you're not sure if it's on because it's an EV. You're greeted by the car in a minute. For instance, you can just tell the assistant
I'm listening
to open sunroof.
Then again, if this is not the ideal weather, the summer might not be the best weather, and then the monsoons to actually open the sunroof, you can just tell her, close sunroof. 75 plus more, maybe 100 connected such features that you can actually make the car do. And that's why it's all about AI and internet insight, though we'd love it if that wasn't mentioned on the outside of the car. But we're not nitpicking because the car on the inside looks fantastic. There's a lot of soft touch wherever you want to touch it. Some great use of carbon fiber, red stitching, very premium to feel, very premium to look at. There's this blind spot detection mode. So every time we're driving, you look at the blind spot detection, symbol out there, which essentially tells you don't change lanes, or don't turn too fast to the left or to the right, because a car is in your blind spot or a vehicle is there and you might well meet with some sort of accident. And that is fantastic. It's really helpful in Mumbai traffic and all over India. I'm sure it's a similar story. So hats off to MG for actually coming up with very cool tech features which make your life a whole lot easier. But if you want to buy an EV, this is an experience which you should be prepared for. I'll just put it this way. It comes down to a personality type at this point in 2022. If you want to buy an EV, you need to be patient, well organized, and do your research, and really, well, think on your feet, because we've gone to several charging stations in Mumbai which show up on the Tata Power app. Some of them don't seem to work. Some of them are at gas stations where attendants don't know anything about that. It's self-service. Most people don't know how to use them. There's no real explainer videos explaining how it really works. And there are timings which show on the app, but then clearly those chargers are not really complying with those timings. They're not really available during those timings. It's a hit and miss sort of a user experience. So that needs to get better. But if you have, well, your preferred charging station, you're driving this in the city, and you know exactly what your route is like, what you're going to traverse on a daily basis, then the MG ZS EV is perhaps one of the best in a league of its own.
And that's where we leave it on the show today. Thanks so much for watching.